resuming here and see if this works.
Okay, because yeah, it said it like lost internet connection, so everything like shut down.
All right, I think I'm back on the show, and I'm going to try to bring you back on Skype. 1 second. All right, everybody, if you're watching, we're going to try to get Kelsey back on here right now. You can hear me now. Okay, so somehow my computer rebooted. All right, let's try this again.
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, but I can't see you. You got to, oh, there you go. Now your camera's on. Okay. All right. So we'll see. Can Edith, are you watching the same stream? Is it still working? My wife's in the other room. I was asking her if everybody could still hear. So let's just keep going, like, and hope. So if everybody drop it in the thing, I think everybody's still watching. So we might have gotten super dumb lucky. I don't know why that happened or how it happened. But my computer literally went through like a reboot, and so I'm like, oh crap, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, you were
frozen and you weren't moving at all, and I couldn't hear a single thing. And then all of a sudden you started talking, but nothing was coming out. So.
All right. But we're back, and I think we're still on the same feed, on the same live, and let's just roll with it. And so.
Okay.
I think, where were we at? You were just talking about the people in the gully, and you were yelling at them and screaming at them, and was there anything else to that part of the story that you want to add?
Well, I mean, not really. I said how it was, and we talked about it afterwards, and I had a conversation with him, and I was like, what were you doing? You knew better, like, it's so frustrating, like, I make these mistakes, like, as I just shared my story, I made a mistake, but, like, man, taking other people's lives into your hand, too, is such a big thing. I mean, if I'm going to screw up, I'm screwing up with myself, not a whole bunch of other people that are relying on you to make decisions for them. Also isn't okay, and that's why everybody needs to get educated so that they can make their own decisions on their own. But when it comes to that situation and that people are relying on you, like, you have to be extra cautious, and yeah, it's not fair. And like I said, I'm the worst person to ask that question because they say it how it is, and I'm usually not that nice about it. So, get educated.
And so I know when we were on the phone too, I know part of the story that we were going to talk about yet tonight as well is the fact that at some point in time you bumped into a fun group of guys called the Northwest Freeriders. So can you tell us about the first time you bumped into that crew? And sounds like you knew Luke Rohde at that time too when you first met them all. So just talk us through that story and how that happened, and ultimately how you met Joey Fay.
Yeah. So I was with my girlfriend Luba. I'm sure you know Luba Michelle. So I was with Luba, and she was telling me about these like crazy funny Americans that were coming down, and they were gonna come riding, and I was like super pumped to meet them. And anyways, Luba and I showed up at, I think it was like Boulder parking lot in Revelstoke. We showed up, and like it was a shit show, just like all these Americans, Washington plates rolling in and rolling into the parking lot, and there were so many of them. It was crazy. And anyways, we were riding for the day, and I met Luke later on that day, and I met Ethan at the same time, Ethan Taylor, and yeah, we all became really friends. I really bonded with those two. I think they were absolutely hilarious. They were super good guys. And yeah, it's kind of funny because that's how I met my husband Joey. I met Joey through Luke, and I met Luke in Canada, and so obviously like he added me to Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, and then I think Joey seeing like these two Canadian girls, he kind of added me, and we started talking. Couple years before I actually met him, and Joey came down to Sicamous or Revelstoke 1 year, and it's the first time we had actually like met in person. We've been talking forever, and yeah, then a couple years later we finally met, and it was kind of just well, that's how the story goes.
Love at first sight. Love it first snowmobile jump, maybe.
Yeah, pretty much. It was actually for like that whole like me making mistake things. Yeah, so I went against everything that I knew. I knew better, never go snowmobiling by yourself, yada yada yada, and I totally did it because I really wanted to meet this guy. So it's funny. we just, I don't know, we talked for so long, and I played hooky. I called in hooky from work, and those guys, it was Luke and Joey and Ethan and a couple guys, and they were heading up, and this is when I was like learning still, so I'm just gonna use that as an excuse. But I knew better. I knew not to head up the mountain by myself, but I did it anyways because I knew they were up there and I really wanted to meet them, and they knew I was coming, but I still, like, I knew they were ahead of me, and the only way I was meeting this guy is if I headed up. So I headed up the mountain by myself, and I ran into them on the trail, and I actually ran into Luke. He had a broken A-arm, so he was sitting on the trail, and we sat and we talked for a little bit and whatever, and then all of a sudden Joey and Ethan came cruising down through what I knew was a cut block, and there was not a lot of snow on that cut block yet, hence why Luke probably had a broken A-arm.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it was really funny because they came bombing down, and I swear to you, Joey must have parked 20 feet away from me, takes his helmet off, looks at me like super shyly, and this is our first time ever meeting after talking for like 3 years.
That's hilarious.
He takes his helmet off and he says hi, and that's kind of it. And we're hi, and that was kind of it for a little while. So it was kind of funny. But after that, yeah, it was the whole love at first sight and snowmobiling and blah blah blah. And now we're here, but yeah. So I started hanging out with those guys, and they were really great guys. And I was actually teaching an avalanche course when I got the call about Luke, and it sucks, and it's really unfortunate that those boys had to learn the hard way. And now anytime I go out with them, I'm trying to give them as much education as I probably can, because I don't want that to happen to anybody else. And
let's make sure everybody knows a little bit of the story is that Luke Rohde, for those who don't know, was one of the Northwest Free Riders, very well-known rider in our area here in Washington State, the Pacific Northwest. And, your husband, Joey Fay, and Luke were very close friends. And it was now, 2 seasons ago that, because it wasn't last season, it was the year before, that Luke was in an accident up on Mount Baker and lost his life up on Mount Baker in an avalanche. And so with your background, your experience, now dealing firsthand with your husband's emotions, what he's going through, all of his friends and what everybody's going through, you're now smack dab in the middle of this, and now you're having to kind of work through this emotional journey too, because not only is Luke your friend, but now you're, if not married already, I don't think you were married yet at that point, but you were very close to Joey and everything else. And so, as much as you can, try to just describe what you all went through and, what you were able to do to help them get through it as much as you could.
It was really hard. I mean, like I said, like I was teaching an avalanche course at the time, and like Joey normally doesn't call me. He usually FaceTimes late at night. So I knew this was like really odd that he was picking up the phone to give me a phone call at like 7 o'clock at night. And I was in the middle of teaching, but like this was like super odd for him. So I like stepped out of the class and I picked it up, and he kind of told me what happened, and that was really hard. I honestly couldn't teach. Jeremy had to take over teaching that weekend for me. I stepped away from the mountain. I couldn't do it, and I was nowhere near as close to Luke as those boys were, and that was a hard loss for me. So what they're going through, like I can't even imagine. Like it's so hard, and I watch all these guys, and like Luke impacted them so much, and it's so sad to see how that happened and why it happened, and it's so unfortunate, and like I said, like it sucks, like learning the hard way, and it's just, yeah, like I've seen a lot of those boys, and it's really impactful to them, and they're taking the avalanche stuff very seriously now, and like they're asking questions. Like Joey, like I mean, he even asked me, he's like I want to teach, like this is like really interesting stuff, and I think that's great. Like they've all taken such a shine to the avalanche education now, and I think that's wonderful, and it sucks that it's now and it wasn't then, but I mean now they're making the change, and it's a really hard one. And to be totally honest with you, I have never seen a group of friends so close in my entire life. Like these are full-grown men who tell each other they love each other every single day, and they mean it, and I think it's so great. I think more people should be like that, because you never know the last time you're going to talk to somebody, and I think it's great. And they're really, really tight bunch, and it was really hard to see them go through the movements, but I'm here just trying to help them as much as I can and give them as much information, and Yeah, that's all you can really do.
Yeah, no, appreciate you sharing that story, and I know it's tough to experience firsthand and to continue to share that story, but in the name of trying to help educate others and get the word out about making good decisions on the mountain and get the avalanche education and to check the forecast and heed the forecast. Don't only just look at it, but pay attention to it and follow it. And take the advice of the forecast that's out there.
Totally.
Um, yeah, and I think for the most part, all the notes that I have, we've covered, short of just the end here. Is there anything else that you want to cover before kind of my final note that I want to have you go over, which is just to share out kind of some of your sponsors and people who've supported you through your writing career? I know you have some writing sponsors, right? But if there's anything else you want to go over, feel free to go over that first.
I just honestly, I just want to encourage everybody to get educated. Obviously, I'm going to say that, but really, it is so important. And another thing is, don't just get educated. Do your homework and look at who you're getting taught by. If you're a snowmobiler, don't go get educated by somebody who is ski based, who's skied their whole life. It's totally different. So I really encourage you to do your research and understand who you're getting your education from. Are you a big backcountry rider that rides 130 days a season? Well, then you should be looking for somebody like Jeremy or somebody like Duncan, somebody who's a hardcore rider who is going to teach you stuff that you're not going to learn from. You know what I mean? I don't want to go there and start pissing people off, but
No, that's all good. We'll leave it anonymous at this point. But
just
yeah,
do
there's
your homework
there's
and
yep.
get educated, please.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, no, there's educators all over the country, and to your point, there's folks who are doing focused ski country, and the core avalanche education is very similar, right? The core structure of it. But what is different is the lingo, right? And the language that's being used and like the description of how people are using the terrain. As a snowmobiler,
Travel is huge. We cover so much terrain in a short period of time. Whereas with a skier or snowboarder, like you're under one aspect for a long period of time. So there are differences. So
very much, yeah.
It is important to do
absolutely.
research and find somebody that matches your needs.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. And then do you want to wrap this up with just kind of some shout outs to those who've supported you along the way and have helped you get to where you're at today?
How much time do we got?
Much as you need.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely want to thank everybody who has helped me out along the way and believed in me and been a super positive outcome in my life. I mean, like I said, like I want to thank Jeremy. I mean, to be honest with you, like I said, I think he saved my life at that point in time. My dad's always been great. My whole family is amazing. Yeah, I mean, Joey, he's been awesome. He's been an amazing help. I mean, he took me in here, can't work yet, so I'm, just chilling, housewifing. So I really appreciate that. He's been super supportive and great. And then obviously all my sponsors, Banner Recreation, obviously they're all going to be Canadian at this point, but Banner Recreation hooked me up with a sled last year, and they've been so helpful with like any skidoo problem I've had, or just even questions or whatever. Like they've been so helpful. They were so great last year. FXR Racing, I mean, I've been with them for 3 years now. Wonderful. They totally match my personality and lifestyle with their bright colors. Yeah, Sled Dog Skis, Raptor Shocks, Cheetah, actually North Cascade Sled Decks. Ooh, that's a new one, and they're American. So
congratulations.
So there you go, getting there. HTR Designs are always banging out my absolutely complicated and amazing snowmobile wraps. Yeah, gosh, there's a lot of them, but I really appreciate everybody. Lots of support and yeah, everybody's great. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thank you personally for coming on the show. I mean, it's I've watched you over social media over the last now 3 years. We decided it was the anniversary date that you and I have been Facebook friends, and it's been fun to watch you. And I think there's a lot of people that you're just a fun, bubbly person, but also you take the things seriously, right? And you're there to educate. And so it's a fun combination that not a lot of people can offer. And so I think it puts you in a unique position to get on a show like
Safety Annie.
Exactly, Safety Annie and Wreckless Annie. You get to be both, right?
Totally.
But you know, it's a unique situation, and I think that's one of the things I love about the platform on this show is we can get folks like yourself who, you know, are credible backcountry snowmobilers, and you know, male versus female in the sport. Obviously, you know, strong female rider in the sport of.
Obviously, females do it better.
Of course, of course. But you know, you do have a very unique platform, and also as an avalanche educator as well too. I think your voice, it rings through to a lot of people. You know, you've got the ears of a lot of people. You know, from all kinds of different demographic categories across the industry. And I just want to say I'm proud of you. I appreciate what you're doing, and thank you so much for coming on the show. So.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
You're very welcome. And so before we completely wrap this up, I'll just remind everybody again, I'm pretty sure we've got one single flowing show. I peeked on Facebook here just a minute ago, and it looks like it's still running as a single show, which is great because we want to make sure we remind everybody to continue to share this out. If you haven't already shared this out, we've got an opportunity to do a share and win. You have a chance to win some hand grips, some 8-inch hand grips from ODI. Woody's Racing is our sponsor of tonight's show. They are going to be providing that prize for you to be able to share this out and get it out there. And so starting next week, we're going to go back to fly racing. We're going to give away probably a pair of gloves, another set of goggles, something along those lines. But Kelsey, really appreciate you coming on. And what I tell everybody is don't forget to get out there and live large, which, Kelsey, do you know what live large means, or do I have to educate you? What does live large mean?
Let's hear it. Bring it on.
All right. Live large is all about live life to the fullest, make a difference in this world, and get out there. Make sure you live like every day like it's your last, because you know what, life's short, and get out there and you got to make a difference. So, so live large, Kelsey.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.